Happy prom, everybody! In case proms were canceled or postponed this year, but not in the world of horror movie night. We're dressed up in our fanciest dresses and gowns and suits and ties to talk about a prom movie like no other. The lovely, the fantastic, the super memorable, the definitively a horror movie, Brian. Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1992.
He's going to fart into the mic again.
I know.
I will say, I got sucked into this movie a lot and kept forgetting to write down notes because I was like, man, I haven't watched this in forever and I'm so invested in it. I do think that Buffy was a much better TV show than it was an overall movie, but I really do love this movie. It's a nice little relic of a time and a place.
I don't know, man. The whole time I was watching this for the show, I was thinking, I just don't know which iteration of Buffy I prefer. I don't know. Like I just there are a lot of things about the movie that I think are superior. Like the idea of the Watcher being an immortal, basically immortal until Lothos kills him, right? Like he's been alive for 1,000 years or something like that, 2,000 years or whatever. I love that concept. I wish that concept was in the show, but it also wouldn't have been sustainable for them in the show to have there be one Watcher and one council, one blah, 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 blah. And so that's where you come up with shows and like Angel where there are multiple Watchers and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's also tough because you're looking at it through a lens of 7 years of 22 episodes.
Dude, watching Buffy the show is grueling. It was grueling when I got into it in 2006.
And I think this is why I still to this day will always gravitate towards sitcoms, because like sitcoms, I can like rock through a sitcom in a day. Like a season of a sitcom, I'll be like, all right, what's it? 15 to 20 episodes that are 22 minutes? Easy. And I'll just like spend a day watching like the first season of Scrubs or whatever. Watching any season of Buffy is like, okay, I've got to have a specific time. I got to really make sure that there's nothing that's going to distract me because every little detail seems to be important in this show. But it does go through, it ebbs and flows. There's definitively good seasons and bad seasons.
The worst season is the one with Glory.
I agree with that, actually. Season 5. And people love that season.
I know, and I don't get it.
I'm a big fan of, for me, I love seasons 3, 4, and 6.
My favorite is season 7 because you get like Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have my favorite episodes, but I think that it is the most satisfying watch on the whole. I also can't stand in season 6 when you get Evil Willow.
So yeah, I mean, the last 3 episodes of season 6 are rough, but I love the trio as a big bad. Like I enjoy just after all these seasons of like these super pumped up villains, you get to season 6 and it's like these 3 dorky characters that you've seen every once in a while throughout the last 5 seasons just trying to be villains, and they're like not good at it. And like I kind of am charmed by the goofiness of that. And I think it does a good job of like calming the like darker, heavier nature that is season 6 of like, hey, I was in heaven and you ripped me out of heaven and now I live on Earth knowing that I was much happier dead. Like, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Moodiness of Buffy.
But season 6, we get Once More with Feeling, don't we?
Yeah, you get the musical episode in season 6, which is like top notch.
Yeah, oh yeah. But my all-time favorite episode of Buffy, for whatever reason, is the Double Meat Palace. I just think it's the funniest one. I'm sure I've said that before. Is that season
the burger one?
Yeah.
I think that's season 6
5?
as well.
Is it 5 or 6? Well, that one, she's fucking Spike. So yeah, that is season 6.
Yeah. The other 2 seasons I really like. Season 4, I love that everyone's
when they're
miserable.
High school seniors?
No, they're college freshmen.
Oh, Beer Bad. Oh, that's such a great season.
And that also has Hush, which is like another fantastic episode. And then season 3, I think the mayor is like my favorite of all the big bads because he's just so charming. He's such a charming.
He's fun. I do actually like that.
Yeah, that has a couple great episodes as well. But enough about the TV show. What I was saying is that you've got 6 seasons and tons of episodes that hold important memories to you to compare against the 90 or not even a full 90-minute movie.
Yeah, but that's also one of the joys of this is that it's very, very digestible.
Yes.
Which is why it's not a horror movie.
I will choke you to death.
Listen, if it is a horror movie, The pacing is terrible.
No, it's definitely...
And the fact that this movie flew by proves that the pacing isn't terrible. Ipso facto, it's not a horror movie.
I don't follow your logic, but yes, I enjoy this movie.
Matt,
I
let me
think
explain it to you. He's saying that horror movies have to have bad pacing because that's what we watch on this show all the time.
No. That's not what I'm saying. You both are mishearing me. I'm saying as a horror movie, this movie's pacing would be terrible because it was just like the first hour is this teen girl who's slowly figuring out that she could fight zombies and then or fight vampires, and then it's like an hour into it when it's like, oh, okay, now like here's the action of the horror movie side of it.
I think the big thing though is that it fits in. Yes, of a lot of the vampire movies that came out during this time, it is definitely more into the comedy. For starters, it's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I think that it is very in keeping with like late 80s, early 90s vampire movies, and you know this because you know about BCAN, was very much like, hey, these are young, goofy teens in a weird situation, and like the vampirism is kind of slick and cool. Like I've got a TV show that I'm going to use as my double feature later, or not my double feature, but as my what did I watch, that kind of falls in line with what Buffy is trying to do with vampires. And it's very much what the 80s aesthetic of vampires was leading into the early 90s before. This was right before like Interview with a Vampire, where all of a sudden vampires stopped being like hip young teen sexy and like way more period piece sexy again.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying on a scale of Teen Witch to Lost Boys, this would be a 5. Just in
Dude,
front of
fucking
Dracula.
Teen Witch is not a 1. Oh, come on. Oh, now I gotta change my double feature to Teen Witch. Oh, by the way, I picked this movie, so yeah, I should pick Teen Witch.
Beyond, like, I know I helped by suggesting, hey, it would come out at the end of May, which is prom season, but you'd had Buffy on your list for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. Again, I thought like, oh, it probably isn't a good movie to pick because it's very light, and it's also a very popular film, and on the show, I don't want to do stuff that every other horror podcast has done, even though we could probably do it better. But we're not going to be discussing The fucking Exorcist or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. You know, we're not going to do that. That's not what we do on this show. Buffy was low on my list strictly due to the fact that it's been spoken of so many times by so many people. And it's just like, I think it's timeless. I think it's fucking great. I mean, it's like it's of a time, but it's still funny.
It's of a time, but the humor still holds up. And I think that it's a fun who's who of like almost famous.
Dude,
people.
There are so many people in this that went on to become uber famous. Like we got Hilary Swank,
David Arquette.
Well, it was
Ben Affleck is in that small little thing. Love it.
Yeah. I mean, and the weird thing is like Sasha Jensen, on the cusp of being famous. He was in fucking Dazed and Confused. He was in Halloween 4.
Animal House.
No, that's Donald Sutherland, you jackass.
Oh. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about the one who's like he becomes a vampire and then goes and plays basketball as a vampire. So it's basically like Teen Wolf, but
that guy.
I mean, Teen Vampire. Who would win in a game of horse? Teen Wolf or Teen Vampire?
Teen Wolf.
I think so too.
Teen Vampire can't surf on a van, so.
I've been slowly watching all of Gilmore Girls over the last couple months, and there's a character that dates Rory called Jess. And while I've been watching Gilmore Girls, I've also been listening to the Gilmore Guys podcast, and they pick on Jess because he's got his little soul patch and his leather jacket, and they're like this little fucking wannabe Luke Perry. I never really watched Beverly Hills 90210, but when I was watching Buffy and in walks Luke Perry with his soul patch and his fucking leather jacket, I was like, oh god, yeah, I see the connection now.
R.I.P.
Yeah. How are they gonna go on with Riverdale now?
I don't know.
I mean, not that I'm invested emotionally in Riverdale, but
I was gonna say, when have you ever cared what's gonna happen on Riverdale?
Dude, it's so weird because like I got really into Sabrina, and just Riverdale is way too far to the teeny bop that I can't dig it. But Jade loves it for some reason. It's like one of her favorite shows.
You can still not marry her, you know.
But who am I gonna get?
hey. So there's a lot of good. I would say there's a lot of good quotes. This is
so many quotes, man.
So this is the early Joss Whedon script, although I think Joss Whedon said that a lot of it was changed from his original script. This was still when he was a guy who was writing first drafts and people were doing a lot of changes. But there's lines, the basketball coach early on gets me.
Can I please do it? Because I think about it. I say it all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, repeat after me. I am a person. I have a right to the ball. But that's not as funny as when he's fucking folding Kruler's jersey or whatever, and he's like, actualize. I say that to Megan constantly.
There's a line in this movie that, when written down, isn't that funny, but when Paul Rubens says it, it's hilarious to me, and it's when they first discover Buffy, and they don't know quite yet that she's the Slayer, and he just goes, kill them a lot.
Yeah. You ruined my favorite jacket. And then that comes back with such a great line when he goes, we can do anything. And she's like, oh, yeah? Clap.
I mean, the highlight of this movie will always, always, always be Paul Rubens' extended death scene.
That scene, oh, man.
That was a funny scene. And the knife in the face got me.
The knife in the face.
When Donald Sutherland throws the knife at her face.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, you threw the knife at my face. He's like, and you caught it. You threw a knife at my face. Because you chosen one. But you threw a knife at my face.
It's very, this movie is very, and this might just be because we watched Some Like It Hot recently, but it's very Some Like It Hot.
It's very screwball comedy.
Yeah. And Christy Swanson's voice is very much like a less drugged up Marilyn Monroe, also like less sex pot-y, but like they definitely have her with the dark eyebrows and the bleached blonde hair, so she comes across very Monroe. And then she comes in a white like halter dress for the which is not, it's not a prom, Matt, so you fucked me this week.
It's a senior dance. That's basically the prom.
Well, no, because they're like, this is the last dance of our senior year. Oh, except for the semi-formal and the ultra-formal. Oh yeah, and prom.
Whatever. It's the
but here's I know it's supposed to be a joke that they have a million dances, but so if it's basketball season, it lines up more with a winter dance. Obviously it's LA, so it's always warm there, but if it's basketball season there, like it's basketball season in the Midwest, that's probably around February or March when you have your spring dance, and then obviously prom is in May. But for the purpose of this, let's just say it's prom, because she is just straight up wearing a prom dress.
Well, and I was going to say, also there's that line where it's like, well, do all the seniors have to go? And like, how many other dances are exclusive to just the seniors but the senior prom?
Oh, yeah, that's true. But then also, I love how Heather, or Hilary Swank, rather, is like, I invited them. I invited everybody. Hilary Swank has no right to be as goofy she's really good at being goofy in this movie, and it is so shocking to me.
Dude, the scene where the guy from where Milton, before this, when he gives everyone detention, was super funny. And then I couldn't get over the most screwball part, which was done by Hilary Swank. It's when he pushes her head against the wall and her eyes go cross as she slides down.
Yeah, I wrote that down. The principal knocking Hilary Swank out.
And it was straight out of like a Looney Tunes, like.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like Looney Tunes or a Three Stooges bit.
Yeah, I was just waiting for birds to fly around her head.
The one scene that I really don't like, and I think it's just because I think it's edited, either my DVD's fucked up or it's edited really weird, is when Buffy cuts David Arquette's hot dog in half.
Mm-hmm. She wasted my dog.
But is that cut really weird? Like, that's edited really weird.
Yeah, it's always been like that. I've always thought it was always super confusing when I would watch this movie in high school. I'd be like, what did she do to his hot dog?
Because there was a split second where I thought that she cut off someone's penis.
I mean, that's the implication. It's a joke.
I get what the joke is, but I was like, wow, they're cutting really awkward. Are they trying to avoid showing that she just cut off David Arquette's dick?
That's the best. Okay, so we're forgetting the absolute best line of this movie, which Megan quotes this so much. Pike isn't a name, it's a fish. You guys are totally thrashed. That would explain this slurred speech.
I do love that. I think my favorite part in this movie, there's two things. I love anything with Paul Rubens. When he shows up, he's just like this. He is so invested in what that movie is, and I love it.
And how did he even get attached to it is what I want to know.
I think it, based on the fact that it was 92, this definitely feels like, oh no, my career as Pee Wee Herman is over now because I was jerking off in a movie theater.
Oh, was that?
I should probably start playing a villain in a movie or something.
Because I think Reuben.
Because this was the same year that he was like the Penguin's father that throws him off of a ice bridge at the beginning of Batman Returns. So I think he was definitely on the outs, and probably, honestly, at this point, probably he was very cheap to get into the movie as well. So I think that there was an element of like, I'm just excited to have a paycheck right now because I've got bills that I have to pay and, you know, lawyer fees and all types of stuff. Which, again, I've said this before. I will say it again. Everything that happened to him is such a fucking, like, when you look more and more into that, it's just like, man, if this dude wasn't famous, it would have been nothing but like $100 fine and he would have been able to continue with his life. And now he's just like the butt of jokes for like eternity still.
Which is ridiculous because no one should give a shit about that in 2020. The love of Pee Wee Herman is definitely far greater than the criticism of Paul Rubin in the modern time.
My favorite thing with him, and I'll always say, like, he did how you should always handle something like that, which is when he appeared, I think it was like the year after he was arrested, and he made his first appearance as Pee Wee Herman since he was arrested at the MTV Movie Awards. And he walked out on stage and everyone was like waiting for what he was going to say. And the first thing he said was, "Heard any good jokes lately?" Because like he was the punchline of so many jokes for the last year. And I was like, that's the way you do it. You just fucking own it.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor did that as well.
Yeah, 100%. He just made jokes about being set on fire all the time.
Yeah.
Beyond Paul Rubens, I love the first 15, 20 minutes of this movie is so nostalgic in I remember watching so many shows that were like this. You know, like this, the boppy teenage girls and like the bad boy punks, and they were sitting at like it's like fucking Saved by the Bell. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's a scene out of Saved by the Bell, honestly. But I'm always so confused because my parents always said that I watched this a lot when I was a kid because I know that my Uncle Craig loved it, but I genuinely don't remember watching this movie ever compared to like Monster Squad and Goonies and like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and all those other movies.
I don't remember this. This felt like a first time watch for me.
Yeah.
I love how Brian's bitching about it not being a horror movie when I gave him an entertaining, well-written film to enjoy for our show.
Yeah. You can watch something else, Brian.
I didn't say that I didn't like the movie.
You just think that it shouldn't have gotten picked.
No, I'm just saying that, a good movie is great for me to watch. It's tough for me to record about, you know?
I think I'm going to pat ourselves on the back. I think we did a very good job discussing Buffy.
We haven't even gotten into how great David Arquette is. And not in this movie, just at life.
Yeah, no, David Arquette rules. Now a touring professional wrestler.
I like how Brian's like, I haven't even gotten into talking about how great David Arquette is, and then silence.
Well, yeah, that was it. That was the opener and closer in one sentence. David Arquette rules, and he was very hungry. And the first red flag should be, hey, I'm on the second floor. Maybe I shouldn't let David Arquette in.
He didn't let David Arquette in, so there's that. So you can't criticize Luke Perry and Pike. It's not a name; it's a fish. He is half asleep, so he doesn't quite realize that. And he might be drunk. You never know. Pike might be a real bad boy and getting drunk listening to music because his buddy has been missing for 2 days.
That's true. And I do love that. I think that's my favorite vampire trope. And I especially love it I know that you don't like the movie that much, but What We Do in the Shadows, when they're just begging the bouncer to invite them in the club.
I'm not saying that I don't think that What We Do in the Shadows isn't funny. I just think that the TV show is a much better medium for the concept. That's all.
Yeah. I think most mockumentary movies probably could work as a TV show. Like if you did like a Best in Show or Waiting for Guffman TV show.
Oh, let's not get crazy here because Best in Show is so fucking funny as it is.
Yeah. All right, Scott, come on. You've got the notes. You pick this. What are we
I'm
talking
letting
about?
you guys talk. All right. So, did you guys notice that Ricky Lake has a cameo in this?
No. Where?
Charlotte the waitress. I had never noticed it. I've watched this movie at least a dozen times in my life. And when David Arquette is like, he dumps the change out of his pocket when they're wasted, when they actually do the meet cute with Luke Perry and Christy Swanson, I like pause and I'm like, is that fucking Ricky Lake? And I'm like, I am not going through the IMDb credits. And so I Google Ricky Lake, Charlotte the waitress, Buffy the Vampire Slayer 1992, and it's like uncredited as Charlotte the waitress, Ricky Lake. You know who else is uncredited in this movie is Seth Green as a vampire. And also somebody else was an uncredited vampire, and both he and Seth Green are the only reoccurring actors in the TV show. My other favorite line, which is so incredibly inappropriate all this time later, is when the bikers, when she's running after Gruler, and I think that's his name. It's Sasha Jensen's character, the basketball vampire. These bikers are like, you want some real power between your legs? She goes, yeah, I do. And she takes his bike and he goes, you're a dyke, I'm telling the world. It's just so funny that he says, I'm telling the world, but not that he calls her a dyke, because that's inappropriate and pretty mean-spirited even for 1992. But I do love the I'm telling the world part. And I use that constantly in my lexicon, just the I'm telling the world part. And one last thing is that I don't know if I've ever actively watched the outro scroll, the credits scroll. Like the sexist friend of Buffy's ex-boyfriend. He's getting interviewed after the prom massacre, and he goes, they had this look in their eyes, totally cold, totally animal. I think they were young Republicans. I cracked up because I've never noticed that line before. So fucking funny.
I was doing a little bit of research on this movie, and I never knew this. This is a fun little, well, it's fun to me and maybe Scott. So the big thing that Joss Whedon had an issue with the movie was that his original script was much darker and a little bit more of a horror movie, and they lightened it up too much. Like the first episode of the TV show builds off of where his original script
they burnt down the gymnasium.
So she like burns down the gymnasium to kill the vampires in the original script, and that's referenced in the TV show. But also apparently Donald Sutherland's character originally committed suicide in order to not become a vampire, and that's how his character dies, is that he chooses to take his own life instead of being turned into a vampire to give away Buffy's location. But that stuff, they're like, that's a little too dark for us.
We want fun. We want boppy.
Oh, also this says that Paul Rubens improvised his entire death scene.
Oh, no shit? Thanks, IMDb Trivia. Okay, that's all I have to say about this movie. I appreciate you guys letting me blab about how much I love it. Oh, and in the words of one bystander, a really gross hickey. That's it. Those are all my notes. Thank you.
All right, well, Scott, you still get to talk a little bit more because we need to know, what's your double feature with Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Well, okay, so I thought real hard about it, and it should have been fucking Teen Witch. Thanks so much, Brian. It's not Teen Witch, but if I was doing a triple feature, I would absolutely end the night with Teen Witch, because that movie is a gem, and no one's coming to your Sweet 16 party.
We like boys.
Oh my God, Brian, you don't understand fun.
I don't.
But my double feature would be Cabin in the Woods, because it's also a Joss Whedon flick and is very fun, but also very much a horror movie.
So not Teen Witch, but I would absolutely double feature this with another movie that involves a lot of basketball scenes, Teen Wolf. Which I love, and
hate.
I'm having so much regret that we did not put that as a normal episode and that it's a Patreon episode. So I am genuinely considering releasing that onto the main feed because I love that episode so much. And also,
dude, fucking do it. What else? Boof.
Boof.
All right, Brian, what's your double feature?
Animal House.
Just because of Donald Sutherland?
Yes.
Oh, maybe you should just triple feature it with Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I will. That's a good one.
Damn it.
All right, so Scott, what's something that you watched, read, whatever, that you want to give a thumbs up to and tell the world to also check out?
I'm telling the world. We had quite a dramatic week here in the Roger Meeker house, because it's not like the Kelly house where there's one last name. And that's the way I wanted it. We watched 2 real fucking heavy movies.
Ooh.
Starting with Frozen 2.
Yep.
Which is better than Frozen 1. And I was not prepared emotionally for it. Loved Frozen 2. I prefer it to Frozen 1. It has more rewatch potential for me, and I'm not really a Frozen guy or a Disney guy, like, modern Disney guy. But really loved it. Cried my fucking eyes out when Olaf died. Spoiler. It's okay. He comes back. It's a fucking kids movie.
Oh shit! Spoiler number 2.
I'm not good at these things.
You're like, sorry, I spoiled that one thing. Let me make it better by spoiling the other part of that.
I was just trying to make it better. Anyway, and then we followed that shit up with Love and Mercy on Netflix, the Brian Wilson story. Oh my God. And that movie is heavy as shit. Really, really well done. Basically, love anything with John Cusack. I love anything with Elizabeth Banks attached because she's phenomenal and her hair is amazing and her eye makeup is fucking smoking hot, and she wears those ridiculous shoulder pads so well. But I turned to Megan and I was like, if this wasn't a true story, I wouldn't believe it, because it is insane for me to think that someone would love someone so fucking broken. It would come back after, 2 dates or some shit, like it's great. Have you guys watched it yet?
No. But I do love Brian Wilson's crazy life story, so I'm sure.
It's basically just about him having a breakdown and doing pet sounds. I mean, that's basically. I mean, if it has young Brian Wilson doing pet sounds and the rest of the band, and then it focuses on him as an adult, kind of becoming emancipated from his crazy doctor.
Brian, you want to go?
Well, we watched Onward last night, which is delightful.
Matt told me not to watch it.
I told you not to watch Soul. I said the upcoming movie Soul is made by all of the people.
No, you actually said Onward.
You said Onward on accident, because
I
remember watching it thinking, I don't understand why this would be too heavy for Scott. As far as I know, Scott doesn't have a brother.
Oh, that's right. I needed to talk to you about that, because I thought about you the entire time I was watching that movie.
Yeah, Jade said, "This is you and Matt." When the brother kept trying to do like the Dungeons and Dragons thing for his birthday.
100%. I was like, man, this is the only time that I'm like Chris Pratt in life.
Yeah. So that was good. And then we watched, well, not then, we actually watched this before Onward. We watched this like a week or 2 ago, but we watched Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo. Fucking terrifying.
Is that the one about like the lawsuit to DuPont?
Yeah, the true story.
Yeah.
And it is so fucked. It is so fucked up that it's a true story, and it's just how evil and greedy people are. And I wouldn't suggest watching it during this whole coronavirus thing, because there's just so many things that can't help if you're someone like me, just kind of start playing around with that conspiracy theory button, because I have been on a kick. I just want to kick this quarantine, and I won't do it to you guys because I don't want you to live the life I live. But
I want you to tell me though.
Yeah, just off the air, please.
No, on air. Hit me with that shit.
One more, and then I'll wrap it up. It'll be quick. Which adds, if you want to get your conspiracy theory juices pumping, Last Podcast on the Left is still putting out episodes. So far, they've put out 6 episodes on the JFK assassination. And what's super cool, the way they did it is, I think the first 2 or 3, I'm confused on the timeline, but pretty much the first 2 for sure is straight fact. So they're just like, this is who these people are and this is what happened. And then they go through all of the conspiracy theories and say which ones that they more align with. And it'll get you going. And that's all I have.
So the 2 things I'm going to recommend are very cutesy and upbeat, because that's what I've been mostly trying to watch while terrified and locked in my house. So I finally watched all 5 seasons of iZombie, which was weirdly delightful. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. It's basically just the show Psych, but with zombies. She works at the morgue, she eats the brains, she gains the memories of the people, and then she uses those memories to pretend to be psychic to help the police department solve cold case murders.
But wait. Do they know that she's a zombie?
They don't for a couple seasons.
How does she hide that?
So whenever she eats the brains, it keeps her body fresh. So that's the thing. They're like, you only turn into crazy zombies if they starve you enough from brains that like you become uncontrollable. So it's got like a fun little twist on the zombie mythos, but it's mostly just like, a monster of the week, except the monsters are just people committing murders and thinking they can get away with it.
You're selling me on it.
And then, I mean, it's literally just cutesy CW zombie comic book. It's based on some Image comic, I think, or IDW comic book series. And then really, really, really liked this new Disney movie on Disney Plus called Stargirl. I was putting it off because I thought that it was a stupid name, but it's basically just Garden State at a high school, which is my language perfectly.
Yeah, that is your shit to a T, man.
Like it is, and it's like I'm watching. I'm like, man, this is Manic Pixie Dream Girl the movie. Like I know exactly what this is, but it's got a bunch of cute little musical numbers. She walks around playing her ukulele and singing like big star songs, and it hits all the beats of Garden State, but while being in a high school. So if you like Garden State or you like high school movies, then give Stargirl a shot. But that's all I got. But tying into high schools, tying into Stargirl, and tying into nothing else, I lost track. But next week, 150 episodes. Holy shit, Batman! What are we gonna watch? Maybe a movie that we did years ago for a different podcast that Scott and I were a part of. But before even Scott was on the show, digging deep into the archives, and a movie that Brian and I grew up on, a healthy diet of this movie. So stay tuned for all that. Also hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/HMN podcast for whatever bonus content is out there. I think probably a Fear Street pitch this week. I don't know. I don't have this shit memorized, but we will be back with something fun. Thank you guys for listening, and tune in next week for our 250th episode. Yay.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
This is...
Oh, shit. Sorry, hold on a second. I muted you and I meant to mute me to kill a bug. Start over again.
Is you killing a bug?
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.